Cameron, tell me about your game and the one thing that frustrates you the most.
I grew up playing golf with my dad. I probably started when I was 2 or 3. More or less took a break from it from high school till 2.5 years ago. I started playing a couple rounds with my dad and my brother, and uh, quickly saw some improvement, and then it kind of plateaued. And so I've started kind of trying to find where's the best area to improve. Biggest thing that I struggled with coming back was trying to keep a driver straight. Just being frustrated with like I can't find this ball. I've lost 6 of them today on the right side of the course somewhere. And then it's just as frustrating is when you finally feel like you're starting to correct it and then you start losing them left.
Okay. How many rounds a month would you say you play?
At most 2, and oddly enough, like summer break for my kids did not produce more time for me because of my work schedule, the way it fluctuates over a 3-week period. There's some weeks where I have more opportunity than others.
You mentioned to me you're firefighters, so you've got this kind of unique schedule where we're gonna have to be a little bit flexible and really just kind of set in stone some blocks and then fluctuate those blocks around kind of what life is.
With that, it creates a lot of opportunity too, because I'm at work for 24 hours and then I'm off for 48. So it's nothing for me to go do something on a Tuesday or a Monday when most people are having to deal with work stuff. So,
And it sounds like we need to get your kids into golf too. That sounds like
well,
that's
oddly
a big
enough,
step.
my youngest one is very interested. So my brother and I took her out last week and she had a blast.
That's awesome, and that's a ton
Yeah.
of fun. Well, you mentioned some big numbers maybe coming off the tee. If you had to kinda give me a breakdown of where you think your biggest numbers are coming from in terms of off the tee, approach, around the green, and putting, where do you think you would rank those? Like, what's number 1's your strongest and number 4 is your weakest? Popping in real quick to first of all say thank you to Cameron for being willing to be open and vulnerable in this conversation. If you want to do something similar to this and hop on a call with me, there's a link down below where you can fill out a form that'll start a wait list. Or if you're not super comfortable being on camera, or like I can't do these all day, every day, so it might be a little while, you can grab the practice planner down below as well. That's completely free. You can just fill it out in your own time. I got it somewhere around here. Right here. Just grab that. It's 14 pages. You can fill it out on your own time on your iPad or print it out like I did. And that's going to allow you to go through the whole process the camera and I go through in this video. This is not the first. Already got another one of these recorded, so be on the lookout for that and enjoy the rest of this conversation.
I have I have a bunch of stuff in my Garmin Connect because I have one of their fitness watches and I use it mostly for yardages, but oddly enough, it also collects all the things for the most part. I feel like my approach stuff could be a little better if I was not so far left or right. I'm finding myself having to punch out to make an approach shot versus just making that approach shot. So I definitely think that drive is one of the weaker parts of the game. I've seen here in the last month a very good improvement in the number of 3 putts that I'm getting. So that's coming up. But I would say that probably I don't know. It's so hard.
Well, it sounds like
uh,
if I can piece things together, it sounds like driver's probably bottom of the barrel. And it sounds like your approach play is pretty good, but it feels like it's not great because we're punching out some. And it feels like your putting's probably pretty good. So maybe chipping's average and putting and approach player are near the top is what it sounds like to me.
I would say so. Yeah.
Can you walk me through like your last range session?
Typically, I'll get the larger bucket of balls and warm up with a usually like a 8 or 9 iron and just kind of get the body moving. I have been focusing a lot on with my driver specifically, um, setup, specifically grip, because I found out that I was gripping it a little bit too weak. So I've really been trying to keep a stronger grip and then picking out there's I guess they're light posts at the end of the range, and I'll pick one as a target, but like visually try to go one post out as my fairway. I don't know that exact distance off the top of my head, but that's kind of what I've worked with. And so the first couple, I kind of assess like how much am I having to think about bringing it to the left today. So the first one is kind of like a gauging, or first handful is gauging like how bad is it today, and then figuring out how far I have to adjust to try to keep it within those goalposts, if you will. I don't typically just like grab each club through the bag anymore. I try to work on something that in the last game I noticed an issue with, whether it was like, hey, I was having really bad contact with the X iron, whatever that was,
Mhm.
or um, you know, but I'll work on something there in the middle, and then a lot of times I'll take the last 20 to 30 balls and work on something close to like 40, 50 yards. So,
Okay.
like they've got some tires over on one side, they've got a 50 here, like a couple flags around, and I stopped trying to just hit it to that one place every time and try to kind of pick at least a different target, but also a different distance. And so trying to work on like take that one club, like, take it like a 56, and just try to see what it takes to get to some different distances to try to get that feel. Because I don't feel like I'm a super feely type player. I'm very analytical. So like the idea of something like the clock system to me makes a lot of sense. It's like, okay, if I bring my hands to
Mhm.
this position in my body, it should equate to a specific distance. And then, trying to, I think for me, I've been trying to focus on getting a couple of big yardages. So if my 56 and I don't, if it's a full swing is about 100, 105, at like quarters, it's almost perfect 25-yard gap. So trying to get those really definitive numbers so that when something comes up in between, I have a better chance of trying to get that distance.
I like kind of the time management aspect of this. How often are you getting to the range? Like out of a month, how many hours a month do you think you spend at the range?
I would say 2 to 4. So if I'm playing a little bit, a few more games uh, in that week or whatever, you tend to not be at the range as much. Um, I have a range. It's maybe 5 minutes down the road for me. But your typical driving range, like it's driving range, and that's it. Like there's no bunker, there's no short game stuff, and there's no putting. So I'm looking for other opportunities, like other golf courses where they have something short game, and I can go work on some bunker stuff or work on true chipping and stuff like that instead of just off a mat.
I like it. That sounds good. Any other kind of context behind like trends that you've seen maybe over the past 12 months in your game, either upwards or downwards, or have you tried to change anything in these past 12 months and you've seen it really work
The
or not work?
the biggest thing that I have done change wise is thinking about course management.
Mhm.
So, in listening to a little bit of like, I'm blanking on names, but Decade Golf
Mhm.
and the scoring method, and just taking some principles from them in like, hey, you know, one, like, don't take the hero shot, aim for aim away from some hazards, those principles to try to really like take what I've got and apply it the best way I can, um, and kind of enjoy the game more by
Yeah.
doing that versus being frustrated that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that's the biggest thing that I've implemented this year.
Well, it sounds like you're speaking my language. Like you're doing everything you can with the time and facilities you have access to already. I think there's some stuff we can do within those practice sessions that's going to allow you to build. Like you're as a firefighter, you've been around weights for a long time, right? And the
Oh
way
yeah,
that we
you
look
can
at
you can
weights,
see my weight stuff in the back.
well, and the way we look at lifting weights versus the way we look at practicing golf is very different naturally. Like we look at lifting
Hmm.
weights and we want to be sore and we want to be tired and we want to push ourselves. But if we leave the driving range and we didn't push ourselves and we didn't measure anything, it can still feel fine because we might have hit a few good shots that we remember. And so I think if we can kind of take those principles over that we've learned lifting weights and we can take them over to the driving range a little bit, I think that's going to help a lot. So based on everything that we're doing today, by the way, is based on the practice planner. Obviously, you're going to be getting kind of the more personalized version of it. But if other people want to check it out, they can grab that down below. But right now is this in season period. We're in June, so we're trying to maintain and sharpen. Like we're trying to play a
Hmm.
lot of golf
Yeah.
effectively. And so I don't want to spend, like you said, you don't want to spend all your time at the range right now. Like playing golf is the goal. That's that's the
Yeah.
best part. But if we can use those 2 to 4 hours a month at the driving range to focus on two areas, and I think area number one is driver. Clearly, that's going to be our primary skill that we're going to try to attack is knocking out driver. And the nice thing is you don't have to practice this a ton in terms of volume, but it does need to be our primary focus. And so there's a
Okay.
difference there in terms of it needs to be our highest intent part of our practice. It's where you need to be
Right.
cognitively the most active, but it doesn't need to take up the overwhelming majority of our time. Where I want the majority of your time to be is approach play, because that's going to be the thing that moves your handicap the most. And the fact that you don't have access to facilities, I'm totally cool with, because we can do stroke work in an office or at the station, um, and then work on lag putting before our round effectively and just get a
Mhm.
feel for the greens that day. So, first and foremost, we're going to be working on driver. So, you mentioned you had some posts out there. Walk me
Yes.
through the tendencies with driver. It's kind of both ways. Is that what it sounds like?
Uh, if you were to look at the statistics in my Garmin Connect app, it would tell you that I am, and bear with me a second, I'm just going to change tabs. Let me know if it messes
Yeah.
anything up. But I missed 41% right and I think 29% left. And so sometimes it feels like it's evenly both ways. But I think that when you really dive into it, it is more right than anything. And I think if I were to describe the shot pattern to you, um, up until like maybe a few weeks ago, it would start. My start line would be pretty straight, give or take whatever the angle of dispersion was. It would go high and then shoot off to the right. Big arc. Uh, when I have had a chance to hit it better, what I would describe it now as is more of like a pull fade. So like it's starting a little bit left and then coming back to center. And that is, to me, seems a lot more playable
Yep.
because it might look scary when it starts, but it's coming back to it's got more distance to come back before it gets into trouble. Whereas starting straight and then heading off to the right, it can be challenging playing from the other fairway.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, hey,
you
I'm right
know,
there with you. I'm right there with you.
but that's that shot shape. So when I see like the big right miss, or I'm sorry, big left miss, it is related to me working on correcting, like trying
Okay.
to, you know, at one point it was just trying to swing different, but really setting up different because I've been more aware of it being setup related. So,
So when we talk about driver, we talk about having one predominant shot shape, right? Because
mhm.
driver is ultimately fit for a shot shape. And so for you, that's very clearly a little cut. Now, for people who didn't understand their tendency in terms of start line, I might prescribe the gate drill where we just set up two either tees or alignment rods out about 8 feet from the ball. And we try to just start it through there and then
Mhm.
figure out which way it's going to curve if we're starting where we want to start it. Very clearly, you understand. I just need to start this thing left and it needs to cut back. So with driver, what we're going to do, and you can adjust this based on the amount of time that you have, we're going to set up an alignment rod at where we want the ball to finish. You can either just lay this down on the ground or we're going to stick it in the ground. We're going to put that out
Okay.
about 8 feet from us if we can. If we can't, then maybe use a tee or something like that. But ideally, the goal is to just start it left of said tee or alignment rod, whatever that mark is out in front of us. And we're going to pick out, like you said, you have those marks in the field out in front of you. We're going to pick out a furthest most right point that we're effectively trying to cut it within. So
Yep.
I'll put some kind of visual up on the screen, but effectively we're going to be hitting driver, starting it left of this alignment rod in front of us, and we're going to be cutting it back. It can cut back past the alignment rod, but really we're not trying to get it more than maybe 20 yards right of where that center would be.
Okay.
So we're looking for maybe like a 40-yard wide fairway. Now, for you being that kind of 15 to 20 handicap range, your average dispersion with a driver is going to be significantly larger than that 40. So really we're
Mhm.
just trying to get probably 5 out of 10 of these in that zone, going through our full routine, keeping track of if we're able to hit this mark or not. And then week over week, you're either going to set a baseline that you try to hit every single week and you do this drill until you hit it, or we're just going to say I either failed it or I did it or I passed. And
Okay.
then you keep track of that, right? So it depends on how much time you have. If you've got a little excess time, like I've got some putting drills that I really love doing that I've been doing for years. And depending on how much time I have or how much light there is, I might just say, man, I failed today. That kind of sucks. And you go home and it's like, man, that really, that stunk. Or you
Yeah.
stay out there and you just do it until you get it done. And you obviously learn more from just going out and getting it done. But
Hmm.
if you fail it because you just don't have enough time, that's also okay. Like at the end of the day, we all have real lives and things are going on, right? And the sun
Yeah.
doesn't stay up forever. So that's going to be our primary drill that we're going to work with driver. What that also allows you to do is it gives you a visual when you get out on the course. So now when you get out on the course, you can actually pick out your total target, right? So where we're trying to land this ball, and you can pick out that intermediary target that we're trying to start at left of. So whether that's a
Yep.
leaf or a divot or something like that, and I'm sure you're doing some kind of version of that already. But this is gonna like really train you to do that because starting at
Okay.
left of something sticking up in the air is much harder than just starting at left of something on the ground. So that's going to be a really good one. That should take about 10 to 15 minutes to do that drill completely through. We're going through our full routine. Even if you want to take like a little breather between, if you want to hit a wedge between, the more time between um, these really intense reps, the more your brain's going to remember it. Like
Okay.
your body doesn't learn a movement in the moment; it actually learns it after, in that time after. So that's what we're doing with driver. How do we feel about that? And the other nice thing about this is it's something that you can progressively overload, like we talked about. You can make it harder either by tightening that dispersion down range. You can make it harder by just trying to get more successful reps. Those are all things that you can kind of add in to make it a little bit more difficult. Now we're going to move into approach play. And what we need to do here is we need to take a look at what are the distances you have most often on the course. And secondarily, what are the distances you struggle with the most on the course? And you can do that in a
Okay.
25-yard wide block.
I feel like that like 30 to 50 range is one area that is interestingly challenging. And then oddly enough, like 100. So, and I think if I were to guess, like that 30 to 50 really comes down to judging the distance correctly and then applying the appropriate swing. At 100, it's more, I think it's more of like that's the end range of what that 56 does for me. And so if I try to get it all the way there with that, I see more variety. But if I try to swing easier with my 50 degree, I don't haven't quite locked in that feel of where 100 yards is on that club. It is very much more not jumpy, but like the front to back dispersion is still not locked in. So I noticed that a few weeks ago on a particular round. I think I had 3 or 4 where I was, like, right at 100 and just kinda noticed how challenging that felt.
That makes a lot of sense. So this kind of breaks down into three separate issues. 30 to 50 is one of those yardages where like flat out that's just kind of like technique. Like are you
Yep.
if you're really missing greens or you're hitting it to 70, 80 feet, like that's just we just got to work on contact. And you can do that with a foam ball up against
Mhm.
a brick wall, right? Like just making ball first, ball first, ball first, ball first. And then from there, like you said, like you're working on the clock drill. That's just a clock drill from there, right?
Okay.
So that reps there, like in terms of block practice and how we utilize block practice, that's actually a great place to use it is to work on just all I'm trying to do is make solid contact. And you still want to take your time and have some intent behind it. But if our intent is to just make solid contact and then figure out how far it goes, I'm completely cool with that because that's going to be the lowest hanging fruit from that distance. For the 100 to, we'll call it 110-yard range, where you're
Mhm.
saying it's kind of the top end of one club and the bottom end of another. I actually, one of the drills that I absolutely love doing for this, because I used to really struggle with this, is picking a green or a target out in the distance and hitting to the front, middle, back. So for you, if there's a target out there where you can kind of pick a front, middle, back, if it's a green or something along those lines, and this
Mhm.
is a really good one to fail on. So you can do this in sets of 9, 12, 15, where you're alternating even clubs and you're trying to hit the front of the green, the middle of the green, and the back of the green, or
Right.
you're trying to hit the front, the back, the middle, and randomize it. But that's going to give you a lot of awareness of, oh, that felt really good. And you look up And especially at this distance, the carry distance should be relatively accurate with a range ball. Like you're not applying enough force for it to really get
I
that
I
off.
got you.
And so if let's say we've got a target out there at 105 and the front of the green's 95 and the back's 115, and you're trying to hit that 95 number and you hit it and you look up and it comes up 15 yards short. It's like, oh, I guess I could give 105 a little bit more. And so I encourage you to do that drill and mess around with different ball position and different amounts of choking up on the club.
Okay.
So, like for me, like I've got the Golf Pride facing up at me,
Yep.
so I know if I cover all of golf, what number that goes with each club.
Okay.
I know if
Okay.
if I kind of look at the grip as a tool that I can use to vary my carry distance. So that's going to be our kind of wedge distance control there from that 100 to we'll say 110 or 125 or whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
And then what I'd love for you to do is finish up with just a random between if you pick your kind of low end of your 4 iron carry or whatever the longest iron is in your set, and that kind of 70-yard range, and we just ask
Okay.
some kind of random number generator for 10 random numbers. Um, and then we pick out targets that are close to that. Because obviously, like, okay, it says 183 and the closest target is 175. You can kind of guess how good
Yeah.
of a strike that's going to be. And then for your handicap level, I would just take, so let's say it's 180. I would say we're trying to hit into a 20-yard wide bucket. So just
Okay.
take the first two numbers and add two effectively. And that's going to be our dispersion that we're going to try to hit into where we can mark it as a successful attempt. So I know we kind of haven't talked short game a ton. Ultimately, like you said, chipping, maybe we don't have a ton of great access to that. And I think actually working on just the technique side of that 30 to 50 yards is going to help more than you think when it comes to chipping, because chipping is all technique and being able to read
Hmm.
lies. So I think
Yeah.
working on that even on the range is going to be really, really good. I think that's going to kind of kill two birds with one stone. Putting, like we said, do you have some kind of setup that you use at home or at the station or anything like that?
I
Even if it's
don't
just carpet
really.
and that.
But yeah, I mean, I do have carpet that I could mess with a little bit here and there. Oddly enough, I have hardly no carpet at my house, so that would be a little challenging on hardwood floor. But I do have um, in town, not that far from where I work, we've got a city course that has a really decent practice area. I just have to check to see if they have camps going on in the summertime because they host First Tee. So I don't know if they have stuff going on, but I have had success going there early in the morning, right after work, and had the whole place to myself. So uh, that's kind of where my next, like, that's where I'm going to try to gain some of that extra facility space at, because it's just,
Yeah.
it takes a little bit more uh, planning, but
Yeah.
it's doable.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and gaining strokes or even just not losing strokes putting ultimately comes down to not three putting and making everything you look at inside of 5 feet. If you can do those two things at every single level, you're going to be totally fine. And that, like, I'd recommend some kind of big target lag putting drill. So laying down a towel, laying down a head cover or something like that, and putting from 20, 30, and 40 feet and trying to get it either on the towel or you're putting to the edge of a green. And then for those inside of 5 feet, like that just comes down to you learning your own tendencies in terms of speed. And so we do
Mhm.
some kind of circle drill, some kind of random drill to different holes. And then we finish up with 9 to 18 holes of random putting from 30 plus feet and keep track of par, with par being two, and just see if
Right.
we can shoot par.
Okay.
So that's kind of the big three of putting, because I think a lot of people look at putting as an opportunity to go gain shots, and it's really not. Like the where you gain the shots is on the approach play, and then you just hope that you hit enough close enough to where you gave yourself enough chances where you make a few, right? And for you, like we're just trying to we're trying to do a couple things. Keeping it in play off the tee by hitting that little fade. We're going to get dialed with the wedges. So then that way, when we do have those wedges, we're giving ourselves birdie looks. And then when we're not giving ourselves birdie looks, at a very bare minimum, we're getting it on or around the green and able to two putt because you're working on the right stuff. And we can work this all. I mean, you kind of saw there how that breaks down in terms of your driving range session. You're going to have your warm up, which at most should take up about 40% of your time. Um, where we're working on maybe that technique, that grip change that you were talking about. I'd like that to even come down a little bit since you've been working on it already, and you can continue
Okay.
working on that in a random setting. So let's say that's 15 minutes is warm up. Then we're going to work on these approach play drills or technique. So maybe we're going to spend 5 minutes on that technique work, from 30 to 50. We can go back down to that once we're warm because you'll be warm on the course when you're hitting those shots.
Right.
And then we go to that front, middle, back drill for another 15 minutes. We do the random drill for 10. That leaves us with, we're at 30, 40, 45. We use driver with the last 15. We're in the car an hour later. I think that's a great little session there. Like you said, maybe we get some time to go out to a putting green. I would highly encourage you even just to buy like a coaster that you can throw down on the
Yeah.
carpet and roll some putts too, because it gives you an idea of your speed as opposed to
Okay.
just putting to a hole where you can bang it in the back. Um, like if you go out and get a putting mat, an indoor putting mat, I would actually encourage you not to get one of the ones that has the little ramp and rolls back to you, because what you can get
Okay.
in the mood of is just like, I'm just gonna hit this thing hard, and if it goes in, it goes in. And
Okay.
that doesn't work on the course, unfortunately. And I actually did that for a whole winter, and it really screwed up my putting inside of about 8 feet. So
Okay.
that's a warning from failure. But Cameron, how does that sound? I think what's the big thing is this has to work, right? Like ultimately, the goal that we need to be working towards a goal. So I kind of like to think about this in like the 3, 6, 12 month, like you said, kind of macro. So let's work backwards. Kind of 12 months from now, what's the goal? Do we have an event in mind that we'd like to play well at? Do we want to get down to a certain handicap? Do we want to be
Uh,
losing less balls?
Losing less balls is probably the best one. I don't. I mean, I've never really. I don't not thought about any type of like tournament stuff per se. Um, I think uh, get. I think I see. My dad is super consistent. Like I played with him one time last summer, and the guy we were playing with turns to me and goes, "Does he ever get bored with hitting it so straight, like hit in the middle of the fairway?" But even my dad, like will get frustrated with himself at some point. And I recognize that that's going to happen. But I think if I can enjoy it more instead of being frustrated, that's a win. I think part of that is like not having to spend so much time looking for a ball or losing it completely, um, and then just feeling good about the results more often. I mean that would be a win for me. So, um, and then just feel like when you go out with other people that you're not still in that like beginner phase. So
Yeah.
that, that's
No, that
that's
makes a
kind of
ton
where
of sense.
yeah,
I think there was a funny tweet that went out earlier this week or maybe last week that was like, how long does it take to cut your handicap in half? Which obviously, depending on what your handicap is, that's different. But one of the early adopters of the app actually did since October. He went from a 12 to a 6, and I think that's actually a good kind of year long benchmark for guys like you. We're kind of in that 15 to 20 range, effectively.
hmm
It's very realistic for you to cut that in half because, like you said, some of that is just course management. A lot of it is you just understanding your tendencies, which is exactly what we laid out here, and you being able to do the easy stuff really well, right? Like we want to be able to just do the basics unbelievably well, and then once we get those really dialed in, the hard stuff will get easier because you'll understand your tendencies already. Um, Man, I'm pumped about this. This is firing me up. I'm very excited to for you to be able to utilize this. Obviously, if you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know.
absolutely.
Um, yeah, man. Well, and once again, if anybody wants that practice planner, that'll be down below. We're also going to be taking submissions for this type of video. Obviously, I can't do these all day, every day, but if anybody else is interested in kind of walking through the plan together, go and fill out that form down below. Cameron, thank you again so much. I'm excited to see where you take this, man. This is sick. If you want to know exactly how to use the practice planner, click here.